Siddharth, is this sort of binary that is being drawn, that there are supporters who are saying, look, she's focused on specific sectors, focused Raman, versus those that she's tinkered around too much, very much, much like a Pranab Mukherjee kind of budget is what one of our panelists suggested.
Could this have been a dream budget? I would say the dream lies in the details. And if you look at the details, the argument can well be that instead of rhetoric, there are specific steps. Now, obviously, we might disagree with the nature of these steps or the fact that they are very minute in detail and it is not possible to comprehend. For example, just one quick instance, the defense modernization part of the budget has increased 22%. I keep saying that the details, and Rajdeep, you refer to that. Look at it in terms of reforms. Between the Prime Minister's announcement that had happened with regard to reforms, and this is what we have also been calling our coverage Reforms Express, from Independence Day to now, 350 specific reforms have been announced so far. What this also tells me, today's budget also tells me, is that the process of announcing major changes will not be confined to this budget.
It will be outside the budget.
And it has happened. The 2019 corporate tax rate cut, which was referenced by the finance minister, happened on 17th of September.
The flip side is all the more she could have then used this occasion, if the reforms were taking place outside the budget, use this budget to give a clear direction as to this reform express.
There is a seven path kartavya, path that has been expressed. Yeah. That is the way the government wants to express it.
Dr. Baru, this is a strong point that is being made here, that many of the reforms have taken place pre-budget. What more do you expect the budget itself to do now?
No, look, I agree. That I don't disagree with what Siddharth has said. The point is this. There are three dimensions to the annual financial statement of the finance minister. One is fiscal, second is policy, and third is this, what you call tinkering, sectoral, Now, on fiscal, of course, we know what the fiscal deficit is, we know what the debt GDP ratio is going to be. So there is some stabilization there, and we are happy with it. We know that Finance Commission report has been accepted. So that's done. On the tinkering part, yes, in any budget speech, finance ministers have to be seen to be appealing to different constituencies. I have no problem with that. But the third dimension to the speech is to tell me this year, will all these initiatives take the economy from 6.5% rate of growth to 8% rate of growth over the next year? Because if you want to be Viksit Bharat by 2047, you need over the next 20 years an average rate of growth of 8% compared to the average rate of growth of 6.5% over the previous 20 years. Okay. Now, how will these initiatives, which are essentially sectoral, we've been told each sector something has been done, but overall, will these budgetary initiatives really push growth forward by 1.5 percentage points over the next year or two? That is a kind of big picture thing a finance minister is expected to say in an annual statement to the parliament.
Dr. Baru, quickly
if you are traveling overseas, the TCS has been reduced. Earlier it was 5 and 20%. It is down to 2%. Very good rationalization of a measure that had been taken earlier. So yes, the devil lies in these details.
Himanshu Bed, co-chair of FICCI Medical Devices Committee, is joining us. Himanshu, how are you looking at the overall allocation or the message that is coming in for the health sector? Himanshu, if you heard me.
Okay, we'll try and go to Himanshu in a moment. Amitabh Dubey, who's with the economic cell of the Congress party, is also joining us. Amitabh Dubey, the first reaction, predictably, of the opposition is to say that the budget is non-transparent. To be fair to Nirmala Sitharaman, that in fact, one of the criticisms that she's resorted to minutiae. So when you say non-transparent, what is the opposition trying to really say? When she's gone into great detail.
Look, Rajdeep, I want to make the general point is that about the credibility of this budget, the numbers underlying the budget. We are told that in the economic survey that growth is 7.4%, which implies that the inflation rate is 0.6%. Now, in whose lived experience is the inflation rate 0.6%? And this is precisely why the IMF gave the national accounts a C grade, because the wrong kind of deflator is being used. So rather than the growth rate being so high, if we come up with a realistic assumption of the inflation rate, then growth is much lower. And that obviously throws a lot of these projections into question. And the budget, I want to remind you, is about growth, it's about investment, it's about deficits. These are the important parts of the budget rather than announcement of this or that scheme. And this is why I also want to remind everyone that on the 27th of February, we're going to have a new set of national accounts. So all of these numbers are going to be rendered quite meaningless. So this is one point, is that the entire premise of growth investment of this budget are very questionable. The second point I'd like to make is that we've had a series of announcements. Now, this government is a champion at making announcements, and then no one actually follows up to see what the execution is. So let me remind you that we've had huge announcements on this and that sector over the past 10, 12 years, Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And the net result is that corporate investment for the last decade has remained at 12%. It hasn't budged an inch. The proportion of the economy in manufacturing is under 13% compared with 16% of the UPA. So you can have all these announcements, but what is missing is execution, and the outcomes are all entirely on the negative side.
Well, some of those, the execution is also with the states. I think one of the challenges for the finance ministers to set you're part of a team and you've got various captains in different states. But Punita, you wanted to make a quick point. Yes.
No, you were saying that is it a focus budget or a tinker
budget? That's the binary I'm offering.
And I'm now putting on my fund manager, investment manager hat. We can run concentrated portfolios or diversified portfolios, and both can lead to good outcomes. This is a diversified budget with some focused areas. So it's like, 70% of your portfolio is going to be on certain areas and 30% goes to the rest. But for an investor, does it mean that they are really standing out areas that you would then change your portfolio and invest in certain sectors? A little bit, but not huge.
Okay, since the initial reaction was, where is the word defense mentioned? Now, the details are here, and Siddharth, you can climb in on this. There's a big defense spend boost in budget 2026, says the government. Mammoth hike is what they claim in the defense budget. 7.8 lakh crores for 2026, and defense forces to get 1 lakh crores this year. Defense Ministry has allotted a budget of 7.8 lakh crores for 2026-27. Defense forces to get 2.19 lakh crores for modernization. Now,
so Rajdeep, that number, because a large part of the defense budget goes on the revenue account, which is salaries and pensions, and that breakup is available. That is why the focus has to be on modernization. And by my reckoning at this stage, and subject to any correction, this is almost a quarter hike, nearly 22% hike in modernization. So clearly, as the fine print comes out, there is a substantial allocation.
Let's look at expenditure of major items as per the budget.
Transport is
number one, 5.98 lakh crores. Defense number 2 at 5.94 lakh crores. Rural development 2.73, Home Affairs 2.55, Agriculture 1.62, Education 1.39, Energy 1.09, Health 1.04 lakh crores, Urban Development 85,000 crores, IT and Telecom 74,000, Commerce and Industry 70,000, Social Welfare 62,000.
One of the criticisms. Quick point. Dr. Baru knows it. He's sort of dwelt on this for a large part of his life. Most of our expenditure is already baked in. No government, even if they had all seats in parliament, can suddenly switch gear and say, I will completely stop doing things. You could call it a gravy train, but the Sarkar, the state in India, has massive gravy trains. Transport, defense, others, these are all essential for the realm. But the fact is that the flexibility available to a finance minister to suddenly move around stuff by even 5 percentage points is close to impossible.
But I hear those who said that a couple of years from now it'll get even more, it'll become even more difficult when the next pay commission's numbers kick in. So therefore, this was an opportunity in a way. I'm asking you, this was an opportunity in a way for greater rationalization to identify the focused areas more clearly. Has the government done that?
Well,
or have they, as Punita said, tried to diversify too much?
There is a lot that a budget of the size of India has to address. There are allocations, and then there are choices that you are making in terms of a policy choice. Should I push A or should I push B? If I have put 40,000 crore in electronic component manufacturing, what will the result be? The result is that we are seeing more and more phones. Now you may say, is it 100% manufactured or 70% assembled in India? Stuff is happening. These are policy choices they have made. We can argue, but at least the voter consistently rewards these policy choices.
No, let's step away from the, when we discuss economic policy, I'd much rather that we don't sort of align it to who's winning the election and all. That's a whole separate ball game.
No, are you saying, Shankar, that these things don't have an impact on voter choices?
As we saw in Bihar, in the end, it was a 10,000 rupee scheme that you had to give to more than 1.5 crore women, which made the difference. I think there should be a direction, for example, whether in the budget or any, what is our stand on the dole economy? If you want to call it the dole, but go ahead.
Let me flip that. If we are growing at 8.2%, why are we feeding 81 crore people?
We are not growing at 8.2%.
No, 8.2. First half was 8.2 or whatever. No, total 7.4%. Whatever. We are fastest growing. We have the largest rural employment scheme, largest health scheme, largest food security program, largest Narega. So there is...
And the largest population.
No. Scale is... Both cannot be at the same time. Na? We take it as an advantage. Scale. So we are saying that this is why this is happening, and so why I always put a stop to this vote thing is that none of the past few elections would have resulted in the results that came out if the doles had been removed. Okay, all this Ladli Bahan, Ladki Bahan, whatever, with just on cash transfer to women is 3 lakh crores. So I would, to use Punita's analogy, I would say this is a capital protection budget. Is because the fiscal deficit and all that is covered. What is they have done? They had 4 lakh crores is the total rise in expenditure, out of which 1 lakh crore has gone to infrastructure, 2 lakh crores has gone to defense, and they have worked it around. What is the story that they are trying to tell is that we have created enablers in the economy. Now that might get lost in the minutiae and all. But we should not give this, Rajdeep, you said that much of the reforms is the states. They are not half tickets on the system, no? They are full tickets.
Look at these defense numbers in particular, because we are flashing those details on our television screens. The total Ministry of Defense allocation has gone up. This is 9.53% increase over 2024-25 and about 13.45% of the total union budget, which is the highest among all the ministries. But this is not just about modernization. Of course, as you said, it's pensions as well, but domestic procurement push is also there.
No, this is good idea because we have done a lot of the import substitution.
That's right.
But what we are all trying to wrestle with is when we started this morning, we said, okay, how do we address the cloud of uncertainty that the geopolitics has done? How do we address the rupee-dollar situation? And how do we address the investments? Now, you would have expected that the budget speech at some point would have a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 1 line, 1 slogan to say this is what we are doing, and then align the pieces. This is a budget that has landed between hope and hype.
See, 2 numbers.
That's an interesting one.
2 numbers
between hope and hype.
Yes.
First number, the total increase in expenditure, total expenditure of the government of India is 7%. Yes. This year or last year, nominal. 7%.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's not get carried away by this. Second, as far as capital expenditure is concerned, it remains at 3.1% of GDP, revised estimates last year and budget estimates this year. There's no change. So, the big numbers, there is a certain status quo as far as the big numbers are concerned. On defense, your increased spending, fine. As I told you, after every conflict, there is increased spending. But the issue today that defense companies are waiting to hear from the government is what is your equipment purchase plan, procurement strategy. What will you buy over the next 5 years? Because I will not produce it if you will not give me a guarantee of buying, because you're the only customer. And a budget speech like this that increases defense expenditure by 13%, which is what you have calculated, I have not done the calculation, should at least have said, that the government of India is going to have a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan for defense procurement, so that companies know that over the next 3 years, this is what they're going to be buying, and then they make the production plans, which is not in place. That has to be put in place.
No,
I
one
want
more
to
point.
just,
But that I think is anyway announced separately. It doesn't have to be part of a budget speech as to what the government
what
is
is
going
the
to buy.
budget
Am I
speech?
right? One of our takeaways is it vaccinates India against Trump tariffs. Does it really do that?
Yes, I think
It
it
does?
does. It
Yes?
does.
How?
Because we are focusing on, look, we can't do anything about the tariffs right now. The negotiations are still kind of, we've hit a stalemate there. But right now, we can do is focus on what our domestic economy can be stimulated. And that's what she's done by allocating a lot of resources to lots of different initiatives domestically, and also bringing data centers to India, and allowing foreign companies to then work with domestic companies. So that's a good initiative. The thing that we aren't discussing is that while the 7.2% GDP number, real GDP number, is good, our nominal GDP and the company's earnings, which foreign investors have been seeing for years, they feel India's nominal GDP is not good and the earnings growth isn't good. Now, this budget isn't going to address that. It's not going to address. It's not a growth-oriented budget. It's a long-term, little by little, build the foundations across many, many different areas. So it won't really bring FIIs back in a big rush. And then we've been one of the worst performing markets this year to date. And now we've got this STT. So it isn't going to really, even though it's marginal, it's not what investors were expecting.
No, the dollar returns on this economy is poor. Because the rupee has tanked last year, and this doesn't look like it's recovering. So if you take the prism of the dollar returns, it will be different.
Rajdeep,
go ahead,
on the point of defense acquisition, now we know that there is a Defense Acquisition Council. What can a budget do, frankly? It is also a question of our decades-long manufacturing incapacity in defense that is only now being addressed. There is an incapacity in faster approvals because of the overhang of past decisions. Also, although that has changed, this government has devolved powers with regard to the level of acquisitions that can be done. The third bit is there is an essential dichotomy between what our armed forces want. They are dealing with very cunning, very, very devious adversaries on both fronts, and they want top-of-line equipment. Our own manufacturing capacity sometimes, and this is the most recent comment about the delays in delivery of our indigenous fighter jets. I frankly don't see that turning around in 1 year. I always recall what the late Manohar Parrikar tried to do by bringing in a platform-based strategy and 6 or 7 large manufacturing champions who would not do individual arms.
Okay.
And we reported on that story. They would do platforms. That never went through, Rajdeep.
Okay, Chairman of the 15th Finance Commission, that is Dr. N.K. Singh, is joining us live. Mr. Singh, thank you for speaking to us. Your first big takeaway of this budget.
Okay, N.K. Singh will join us shortly. Remember, the 16th Finance Commission report headed by Arvind Panagriya comes out later this month, and that will be looked at very closely, particularly in the context of states.
Already done today.
Already done today is what, are the details out?
Yes. In fact,
Can you tell us more?
So see, the 16th Finance Commission report, Rajdeep, continues with 41% allocation, devolution rather, for states as the previous 5 years. So what does that broadly mean? Number one, it does not cut back any state at the gross level. Number two, if you look at the choice that is being made, at 41%, the Finance Commission and the government saying that we have accepted it. In fact, that was the one-line item that the Finance Minister spoke about before she began her speech. Yes, it clearly means that as far as the resource availability to states is concerned, that continues down a path that has been followed for years. So, Rajdeep, very quickly, I think we should look at this budget as a defense at the ramparts. They are not going out to capture new territory, but they are making sure that whatever is existing, not even a square inch is ceded.
Okay, N.K. Singh, as Maria just said, joins us. Someone who's tracked several budgets, was part of Manmohan Singh's team as one time and has also been part of Prime Minister Modi's economic think tank. Appreciate you joining us there.
Also, Rajdeep,
Yes.
also part of Chidambaram's dream budget.
That's right. So he's crisscross. That's why I said from Manmohan Singh to Narendra Modi via Chidambaram is the way we'll put it. But Mr. N.K. Singh, your first reactions to this budget. There are those who believe that Nirmala Sitharaman has gone too much into micro detailing and tinkering. There are others who are saying it's very focused and provides us some kind of a insulation in a Trump-driven world.
So I would say I have three comments, Rajdeep, and thank you for allowing me to share these views in this prestigious channel being anchored by you, which I have had the privilege of being part of much earlier for many, many years. I have three broad comments to make. First, I would say that the finance minister has been credible, she has been sagacious, and she has been responsible. Why? First and foremost, we all know that given the fact of great global uncertainties, given the fact that, as the economic survey has pointed out, there are currency issues facing every central banker, if she had not adhered to the path of fiscal consolidation, the overall macroeconomic framework would have seen rather serious adverse consequences. Notwithstanding expenditure pressures, I was listening to the debate on defense and in other areas, she has continued with a very high focus on infrastructure investment of now reaching over 11 lakh crores. She has continued with this in tandem with the fiscal consolidation roadmap. This year, not only will she get to 4.4, but next year the audacious one of 4.3. Debt has gone down this year, well on track to achieve the 50% debt to GDP by the terminal date of 2031. So in that sense, the overall is very, very responsible and very credible. My third important point is that yes, there has been, and I would say very legitimately so, the sectoral kinds of issues which must occupy the center space, because she is riding on the back of what is being called the Reform Express, which India has seen in 2025. That's why we have been able to not only withstand the kinds of global exogenous uncertainties and pressures, including from the United States, but in fact we are in a position, Rajdeep, I don't know if you have noticed that the economic survey has bumped up India's long-term trajectory of 6.5% in real terms to 7%. Of course, I don't want at this stage to go into the granularity of nominal
Mr. Singh,
versus
Maria has a question. Go ahead, Maria.
Mr. Singh,
real.
this is with regards
But
to
go ahead.
8,000
Maria.
crore, which came in Times of India today, about 8,000 crore allocated for new urban cities, and that has not been utilized. So when we look at the budget allocation, that will also be the concern.
So I think that, Maria, you have pointed out the fact that yes, as chairman of the 15th Finance Commission, we had given a recommendation which was accepted by government to allocate 8,000 crores for incubation of new cities, which has not been utilized with only 2 months remaining. But she has instead unveiled far deeper reforms on urban rejuvenation and really creating urban clusters which are very credible. And I think that whereas this could have been done in addition to that 8,000 crore, be that as it may, as we look forward, the renewed emphasis on rejuvenating and creating new urban clusters, not only urban clusters as a growth multiplier, but urban clusters in terms of its large contribution to GDP and, dare say, to employment.
You know, the challenge with urban clusters, urban governance, and we mentioned that this was one of the major challenges India faces going ahead. The question is whether those smart city, we've seen the smart city project among those projects which has had mixed results.
Smart city project was a smart idea and a dumb policy. For 10 years, they just did incremental stuff. Last year budget, they had 1 lakh crore for urban challenges. We don't know what's the fate of that idea because it's not been devolved. There is also 1 lakh crore for research and development, which finally they are now got it into a portal and the disbursal might happen. The question about urban governance is that you can't do it top down. It has to be done from the state. There has to be devolution. The 74th Amendment has been buried deep into the ground.
Federalism should not end in state capitals.
Let me bring in Himanshu Beth, co-chair FICCI Medical Services and Devices Committee, Managing Director, Poly Medicure, because one of the areas this budget did focus is medical tourism, pharma. The fact is that there has been a genuine attempt, particularly with medical tourism, to give it boosts with various benefits being provided. Your first reactions to that? Do you believe specific sectors will benefit more than necessarily the entire economy? These will be specific wagons that will move ahead.
Thank you, Rajdeep. I think, first time we have seen some detailing on the healthcare sector, especially for future economic growth, and especially this Biopharma Shakti mission for 10,000 crore allocation, expansion of NIPERS, stronger CDSCO, especially to accelerate innovation, approvals, global competitiveness. I think all these were called out. And relief on cancer drugs, then medical value tourism hubs. First time government has given focus on MVT, which is a very big sign because I think India has a great capacity to handle foreign patients. And the way our healthcare is today growing rapidly, I think we are pretty much up there in terms of delivery. So I think I'm for assistive devices, all that is pretty much called out, which was pretty much not there in any previous budgets. So I think very specifically called out, positioning healthcare as a social and economic multiplier.
Okay.
In terms of reform, since you're talking about that particular sector, why do you say that there has been no efforts in the past for this sector?
I think it was, when we looked at CDSU, and I'll talk from medical devices perspective, pharma and medical devices were governed by just one single organization. I think a stronger CDSU means there's a deeper approach for approvals, innovation, global competitiveness, which was never there earlier. So I think there's a special focus on these areas.
Himanshu, I'm looking at NIMHANS, setting up of a NIMHANS 2 and upgrading National Mental Health Institute, establishing emergency and trauma care centers in district hospitals. That's how it is looking like in terms of larger benefits for this, healthcare sector. That doesn't seem to be there in the pointers that I've just read.
See, basically, if you see the last budget, there was a focus on oncology, onco care centers, 200 centers were announced and 700 more to be, over next 2-3 years. So I think it's a beginning of, where we see special focus in these areas. It will take few years for these things to come out and develop, but I think the focus is, pretty much there for advancement of technologies.
Okay, so there is a reaction now coming in from the Trinamool Congress. Abhishek Banerjee is speaking. Let's listen in.
दिखाया कि पिछले 4 साल में ग्रामीण सड़क में जहाँ पे 60% पैसा केंद्र सरकार का देना बनता है, वहाँ पे 10 पैसा दिया है. मैं राजनीति छोड़ दूंगा. स्टेट मदरली ट्रीटमेंट और एटीट्यूड. बंगाल में आप हार रहे हो, इसलिए बंगाल के लोगों को सबक सिखाना है. लोकतंत्र में सबक जनता सिखाता है. राजनेता या राजनीतिक कोई पर्सनालिटी नहीं सिखाता है. जनता के बल और जनबल के आगे किसी का नहीं टिकता है. कोई अगर सोचता है मेरे पास ताकत है, मैं जनता को सबक सिखाऊंगा, जनता फिर से सबक सिखाएगा और आने वाले चुनाव में जवाब करारा मिलेगा.
और कहीं ना कहीं जिस तरीके से स्टेप मदरली ट्रीटमेंट केंद्र सरकार वेस्ट बंगाल के साथ कर रही है, उसका जवाब आने वाले चुनाव में जरूर मिलेगा.
So politics as expected has started. Rajiv Mantri, expected lines, the reactions that are coming in. We expected opposition to talk about how there is nothing
those
much.
States which have not really been highlighted will
As
always
much.
speak out that they didn't get this and they didn't get that. This always happens, so nothing surprising.
Well, they can always grow coconut.
No, but that's also a very old world. This is like the old railways budgets that used to be there. Unless a train ran from a particular MP's constituency, it wasn't seen as a budget that was fulfilling the needs of a particular state. But
which is very parochial and small.
That's right. This is a union budget at the end of the day. And I think, as we are saying, there are certain focus areas that should be highlighted: cancer drugs, medical tourism, education.
The
logistics.
The
social
tax break on
sector.
data centers tells us how much importance the government is placing on data localization.
Sure. So, I mean, I think the government, as I said, you can look at this budget two ways, and this is the way it's going to be looked at. Those who believe that the government has given that much needed focus to key areas. There will be others who will say that maybe the government should have provided, as Dr. Baru keeps insisting, a clear intent of the direction in which they are taking the economy in terms of encouraging people to invest across the board and tell us, therefore, where the growth trajectory goes. So those are two clear views that are emerging. I don't know whether N.K. Singh is still with us because, Mr. Singh, much of this also, the heavy lifting will have to be now done by the states. The Finance Commission details have come out and we've seen about 19 states have revenue deficits at the moment, some of them whopping given the scale of the dole economy. Should that be a concern? We don't focus on state budgets enough, but states is where governments are simply don't even have money at times to pay salaries on time.
I totally agree with you, Rajdeep. In fact, you have perhaps taken the words from my mouth, that while we are excessively preoccupied with the fiscal and the debt trajectory of the central government, and we focus on it, we have scarcely any focus or a means to focus on state finances. Day before yesterday, you are absolutely right, Rajdeep. The report of the Reserve Bank on state finances came out, and that presents a grim picture where fiscal deficits have slipped, raises broader issues in what kind of a freebie economy and so on the states can do. But what can the central government do? Rajdeep, I want to ask you, this is a question I have posed myself several times, that under the 7th schedule of the Constitution, and since we will not in a position to alter the 7th schedule of the Constitution, as long as the state borrowing is upon the security of the consolidated fund of the state, and since the Indian Constitution doesn't provide any recourse for state level bankruptcy, while keeping the finances of what the world looks at, you are right, is general government. It doesn't look at, an investor doesn't look at central or state government. In fact, Rajdeep, the ironic circumstance is today.
Mr. Singh, just hold on to your thoughts. Trinamool Congress Supremo and West Bengal Chief Minister is speaking.
Anti-ST, anti-OBC. Education funds, education subsidy declined, social security subsidy declined, fertilizer subsidy declines. It is totally garbage of lies and incompetence, Himalayan incompetence. Totally economy is derailed. Now, you will see within this time, the market falls sharply. Sensex down above over 1,100 points. Nifty 50 has been below 25,000. So you can realize there is a proverb in Bengali, chorer maye boro gola, ইংরেজিতে বলে চোর কি মাই জোরসে বলে, mother of thieves are soundless, mother of thieves are soundless. Now, for Bengal, what they have given? Nothing. Talking big. Kichu dayni.
One of the challenges, of course, has been this notion of cooperative federalism. Mr. Modi himself has been a chief minister, and when he came to power, the Planning Commission was removed, Niti Aayog was brought in, and their belief was that this would, in a way, so was the hope, actually bring center and state closer together. As we see, even though the BJP dominates several, of course, of the states, the opposition chief ministers versus the Modi government has become a source of immense friction. And you can't, in the times in which we live, it's one thing dealing with Donald Trump outside. But when you're dealing with sort of internal tussles all the time, it makes life difficult. Opposition ruled states insist that they are being discriminated against time and again.
Rajdeep, let's take that question to Mr. Singh.
Yes.
Mr. Singh, if you can hear us, sir, at 41%, which is the same as
the share to the states.
As you had recommended, are you okay with that? Was there scope to raise it further? Is this enough?
So let me put it this way to you, Rajdeep. Please go back in time and see the trajectory of this devolution. During the time of the, up to the time of Dr. Vijay Lakshman Kelkar, who headed the 13th Finance Commission, the devolution to the states was in the region of about 31%. This was itself an incremental increase over what Chakravarti Rangarajan had given in the 13th Finance Commission. Kelkar kept it in the region of about 30-31. Then the 14th Finance Commission under Dr. Venugopal Reddy, for the first time, gave 42%. It was a very, very sharp escalation of 42%. And the explanation given by Dr. Reddy at that time was he expected that all these centrally sponsored schemes and central sector schemes would be very, very greatly rationalized. When it came to my commission, I made 42 into 41 because by then the state of Jammu and Kashmir had really become a union territory, and therefore it was more sensible to increase the grant component of the Home Ministry.
Listen to the Minister Ashwini Vaishnav giving a government reaction. Sorry.
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पे बहुत बड़ा फोकस दिया गया है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो, सेमीकंडक्टर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो, और आईटी सर्विसेज के लिए बहुत एक सिग्निफिकेंट सिंप्लीफिकेशन किया गया है, सेफ हार्बर और फास्ट ट्रैक एपीए के प्रोविजंस लाके। आने वाले समय में डेटा सेंटर्स बहुत बड़ी एक ताकत बनेंगे देश की, जिससे कि दुनिया भर को नई सर्विसेज और भारत के लिए नए एम्प्लॉयमेंट और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के नए रास्ते खुलेंगे। तो डेटा सेंटर्स पे जो टैक्स हॉलिडे दिया, इसके लिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को और माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। साथ ही साथ ऑरेंज इकोनॉमी जो हमारी क्रिएटर्स इकोनॉमी है, इसमें 20 लाख एम्प्लॉयमेंट नए बनाने के लिए क्रिएटर्स इकोनॉमी में आईआईसीटी मुंबई के साथ मिलकर 15,000 स्कूल और 500 कॉलेजेस में क्रिएटर्स लैब बनाने के लिए बजट में प्रोविजन किया गया है। और साथ ही साथ रेलवे के लिए 7 नए हाई स्पीड कॉरिडोर्स, चेन्नई से बेंगलुरु, चेन्नई से हैदराबाद, बेंगलुरु से हैदराबाद, मुंबई से पुणे, पुणे से हैदराबाद, दिल्ली से वाराणसी और वाराणसी से सिलीगुड़ी। एक तरीके से साउथ इंडिया में सदर्न ट्रायंगल बनेगा, चेन्नई, बेंगलुरु, हैदराबाद का हाई स्पीड रेलवे का, बुलेट ट्रेन का। वैसे ही दिल्ली, वाराणसी, सिलीगुड़ी का एक नया हाई स्पीड कॉरिडोर बनेगा और साउथ वेस्ट को साउथ से जोड़ने वाला मुंबई से पुणे, पुणे से हैदराबाद का एक बहुत बड़ा मेजर कॉरिडोर बनेगा। साथ ही साथ आज बजट में एक नए डेडिकेटेड फ्रेट कॉरिडोर जो कि बंगाल में दांकुनी, वहाँ से गुजरात में सूरत, इसको जोड़ने वाला, ईस्ट को वेस्ट के साथ जोड़ने वाला नया डीएफसी भी सैंक्शन हुआ है। मैं इस बजट के लिए जो कि युवा शक्ति से प्रेरित है, जो कि विकसित भारत की एक मजबूत नींव बनाता है, जो कि समाज के हर वर्ग के लिए और देश के हर क्षेत्र के लिए विकास का एक नया माध्यम बना है, इसके लिए मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी का अभिनंदन करता हूँ।
बजट में कितने लोकेशन किया गया?
Statement from Ashwini Vaishnav there, the Information and Broadcasting and IT and Railways Minister of the country. Just to take that point forward that we were discussing about state finances, about the need for states also to pull their weight. One of the concerns has been this huge South-North divide, or the South-West versus the North and East divide. And that is something that perhaps every government should be conscious of, because it can become a potential friction point in the future. There's not much that you can do in a budget beyond the point. But is there a need, therefore, perhaps for the Prime Minister to take the lead, get all these chief ministers together and find a way forward? Rather than you said a top-down approach doesn't work, for example, for urban governance.
No, but chief ministers who complain about these kind of inequalities or the problem with the distribution should also look at their own states. In Bihar,
No, that's fair enough.
Shevhar has a per capita income of 19,000. Patna has 1 lakh, and then national, and both of them are below the national average. The question really is about all these states. What have they done to promote their investment? It's not enough to have these summits and all. Why not?
Can I give you numbers?
Sorry.
West Bengal only spent 24.4% of its budgeted, its own state budget's capex during the year. Chhattisgarh 27%, Tripura 22%, Meghalaya 30%. Do you know which was the best state? 117% of budget? Telangana.
See, let me make two
Smaller
points,
state also.
Rajdeep.
Perhaps helps. Yes, go ahead.
One is that the National Development Council, as an institution, was wound up in 2014, along with the Planning Commission. There is no institutional framework today for the center and the states to work together. This nobody writes about it, nobody comments about it. But the fact is that this federal structure which was created has been weakened. But secondly, and the more important thing, I think chapter 16 of the Economic Survey, which is a terrific chapter, all compliments to Anant Nageshwaran. The second part of chapter 16 is all about state capacity. By state, it's not state governments, but the center and the state. Today in India, the ability of governments to spend has gone down. You mentioned unspent budget just now.
8,000 crore.
He's talking about some states not spending. State capacity to spend has gone down.
Yes.
And this is a serious challenge which the government itself is recognizing. In fact, the Economic Survey talks about a major reform of government as the real challenge facing the country. It's not just getting government out of business, but getting the government to function.
Why do you think it's not happening, Dr. Bharat?
I think there's a weakening of the talent pool within government, the weakening of political leadership within governments, and short-termism has taken over.
No, short-termism also, that what they announced. For instance, Jaitley's 2017 budget spoke about creation of a cadre for panchayats and for municipalities.
That's right.
They never did anything about it.
Let's go to Deepak Shetty, Chairman, CII Council on Manufacturing Excellence, CEO and Managing Director, JCB India Limited. Thanks very much for joining us. Also joining us with Mr. Shetty is Narayan Sitharaman, Managing Director of Sanmar Engineering. Gentlemen, to both of you, your first reactions. First you, Mr. Shetty, will there be, I keep asking everyone from CII, will we see the animal spirits of the economy revive? Private investment is at a lower level than it was in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to give you two reasons why. First of all, last few years we have seen the continuous focus on infrastructure development and the growth which has taken place thanks to it in the industry. I represent the construction equipment industry, which has improved by around 20% year on year last few years. One of the biggest challenge we were facing was in spite of being the third largest market in the world, we are importing a lot of components, a lot of machines from outside the country. We have been requesting the Honorable Finance Minister last few years, and we are very pleased and we really want to thank her for announcing the PLI scheme for production of critical components for the construction equipment industry. And this initiatives like this are really going to bring the animal spirits, as you say, in the private sector investment. I'll just give an example. Thanks to this scheme, supported by the EU FTA, there'll be more and more European companies which will be encouraged to invest in India. And this will not only help in increasing the exports from India, but also bring down the cost of construction equipment. I also want to mention that the whole emphasis which has been given on the MSME sector, particularly from the manufacturing side, we have seen globally the whole development in the manufacturing sector has taken place not only by the investment by the big companies, but also by the smaller companies. Case in point is the whole Mittelstand that we have seen in Germany. I feel that with the recent announcements or the announcements which have been made and across the sector is going to help create a huge ecosystem from the MSME side, from the sustainable manufacturing side, and India now can really be the X country plus one option to the global industry. So very, very heartening from that particular point of view.
Yes, Mr. Shetty, but manufacturing sector has been a matter of concern for years now. Do you think the series of announcements which have come in, including deferred duty payment window to trusted manufacturers and also the customs, duty, exemption from basic custom duty on specified parts of certain, aircraft manufacturing, will this actually ensure investment in that sector and boost manufacturing overall?
No, I'm absolutely confident this will. And as somebody, we JCB exports from India to almost 135 countries around the world. The challenges we were facing, even in a small case, like for example, availability of containers. something very basic. We have been seeing challenge. We have been seeing challenge how whenever we move a container, say from Faridabad or from our Jaipur facility to the JNPT port in Mumbai, and the dedicated freight corridors, all of them are going to support this focus on easy to do business with from the export point of view, from the manufacturing point of view. There are a lot of
I just want to get in, Narayan. Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Across the country.
I'm just getting in, Narayan Sethuraman. I want quick comments, sir. Your reactions to the budget. You're from Sanmar Engineering. Do you see that at least the budget has laid a vision for the future? It may not be a budget of today, but it's looking at a 10, 20-year horizon. That's its strength. Some would say that's its weakness as well.
Absolutely right. The budget is focused on the medium and long term. It's very pragmatic, growth-oriented and reform-oriented. From a Sanmar perspective, where in chemicals and general engineering, chemicals has been announced as one of the strategic sectors.
What is the reform, sir? Sorry to interrupt. When you say it's reform-oriented, let's be specific. What's that specific reform you've seen in this budget that encourages you?
A lot of, the process-oriented reforms. We were really not looking for big-ticket reforms, but reforms towards, ease of doing business. Whether it's, for example, electronic sealing, like Mr. Shetty mentioned, focus on advanced rulings to be binding on customs in 3 to 5 years. The focus, there's an emphasis on predictability for doing business and certainty. So a lot of these initiatives are there, it's interspersed in various announcements through the course of the budget speech, but it's all there.
Okay, so
go ahead, Maria.
Much of the process reforms that is being spoken about is probably part of the GABA report, the GABA committee report. What actually we are looking forward to is details from the Somnathan-led Center State Committee report on what can be done. So we constantly come to this at any discussion ends at what are the states doing. And there is a political aspect to this that BJP rules in 15 of those states, and even there things are not the best in terms of, like just now Siddharth read out who's using money better. I mean, turns out Telangana, which is Congress ruled state. So there is this aspect that has to be brought in. And say if the central government has an urbanization grand challenge fund of 1 lakh crore, there seems to be no impulse in any of the states to say, where is the money, how can we do it, whatever is doing. None of the cities, I haven't heard any city. And so there is like a distance between, and we spoke about the end of the National Development Council. Those kind of meetings don't happen. The Niti Aayog, ifs and but, I mean, there is a sporadic effort to sort of come together.
But GST Council, when you look at it, that's where center and states sit together.
No, but that's only pure revenue. What we are talking about is, what do you do with agriculture? What do you do?
In sector-wise.
So, I know there are so many new farmer producer corporations that have been created. So many cooperatives have been created. What is the correlation between the policy and the infra that is, the economic infra that is being created?
But in this budget, she's announced a lot of measures to do development in the states, in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Are you saying that those also won't happen because the governance structure isn't there?
My worry is that the capacity of the states to execute a grand idea from the center is very limited. And India's government, and Dr. Baru and we have discussed this before, in India, the governments too many people are doing things that are not needed, and too few people are doing things that are needed. This is the general...
but if all these measures that she's announced for tier 2 and 3
in
cities...
In fact, Prime Minister Modi
is done,
will be giving his remarks on the budget in some time. So that soundbite will be coming in as well, because thereafter he heads for... Ravidas Jayanti.
Okay, I just we have some breaking news from Siddharth before we take a break.
I just want to quickly point out, and maybe Dr. Baru and Shankar both will come in. The 15th Finance Commission, in contrast to the previous one, the 16th one, has increased the weight for population from 15% to 17.5% it has also parallelly reduced the demographic performance aspect from 12.5 to 10%. So Rajdeep, there is more minutiae, but this is going to, in some ways, lead to a debate, because the more people you have, the higher the devolution percentage will be. Shankar, you want
so
to...
this is the heart of the North-South divide.
Yeah,
right?
no,
This is the heart of what Sitharaman and others have been saying.
Reactions as the fine print sinks in.
Siddharth, you use the wrong word. Not debate. This will lead to adjournments.
Okay.
You said, repeat that on demography, 12.5.
So, you know, in terms of the key criteria, population criteria has gone up to 17.5% versus 15. Demographics has gone down from 12.5 to 10. Area has gone down from 15 to 10%.
So that is the adjustment.
Forest ecology stays at 10%. Per capita income, distance and GSDP distance, a technical attribute, 45 down to 42.5. GDP contribution has been added as a new one at 10%. So effectively what this means is...
balance out.
Balance.
They're trying to balance it out. We'll wait and see to get reactions from chief ministers, but we need to take a break.
No, the last one actually is been created to help the southern states.
That's right.
Yes.
So that's
because
the
they are bigger.
Whether that
And
will
the
be
West.
enough to satisfy them, we'll wait and see.